Should we not instill any fear in our child? Very commonly asked question by parents after they see my reels on childhood trauma and parenting. I am Riri Trivedi and today I am going to talk about healthy fear and toxic fear. Why this is important for parents to know? Because we need to know that children do need certain type of fears, but there are certain types of fears which are extremely harmful for the child. So what are these? Let us understand first of all that fear is a very basic human emotion. And at birth only child does have some basic fears that the child is born with. So fear is not something that we should run away from. There are two types of fears that we as parents should understand in order to deal with our children. There is healthy fear and there is toxic fear. First, let me talk about toxic fear, which a lot of parents unknowingly use when they are trying to discipline their children or teach them certain lessons. If you don't eat your food, the ghost will come and eat you up. If you don't behave, the policeman will take you and lock you up. See what happens when dad comes home. If you don't get good marks, you will stay out of the house whole night. If you don't get straight A's this time, I will take away all your electronic devices. If you don't behave well, if you watch too much of TV, your eyes will fall off. If you keep jumping on the sofa, then you will fall down and your head will open up and your brains will pop out. You find this funny, but a lot of parents use these kind of statements when they are trying to teach or discipline their children. When you repeatedly pass such sentences which are of a threatening nature, which of course you do it to teach the child a lesson or to change the child's behavior. But when you are repeatedly using these sentences which bring about a lot of fear in the child, then it becomes toxic fear. Toxic fear is when the child completely freezes, feels extremely scared and petrified, and this has long-term consequences on the child's mental health. When you use toxic fear like, I will punish you, I will throw you out of the house, or even things like if you don't behave, I will leave the house and go away, or if you don't behave well, then mommy and daddy will get separated. These are the kind of threats that parents commonly use to change the behavior in their children. Children who grow up with this kind of toxic fear face a lot of mental health challenges in the long run. In the short run, you will definitely get results because out of sheer fear, the children will change their behavior. They will stop doing things that you want them to stop doing, or they will start doing things you want them to start doing. But when they are doing it out of toxic fear, there are repercussions and there is a price to pay. Some of the common outcomes we have seen in adults and children because of toxic fear are severe anxiety and panic attacks. So at a very early age, the children will start developing anxiety about every other thing. It could be exams, it could be social anxiety, it could be anxiety about meeting new people, etc. In order to cope up with the anxiety and fear, sometimes children and adults develop compulsive behaviors. So they will have OCD kind of behavior. So they will, just in order to feel that they are in control, it's kind of a coping structure to overcome the fear, where in order to be in control, they will now start doing behaviors like compulsively washing the hands, taking a bath few times, cleaning the floors, locking the door multiple times, etc. because it is a way to deal with that excessive fear. Children who grow up with toxic fear often have an issue with self-confidence. They grow up in a lot of self-doubt because they are constantly told that something will go wrong. Because of this, they cannot take risks, they have trust issues with other people, and this might also affect their close and intimate relationships. Children growing up in toxic fear also have issues with creativity because they cannot open up their minds to new ideas and new possibilities simply because they are so much overcome by fear of all sorts of things, fear of society, fear of judgment, fear of failure, etc. Children who grow up in toxic fear have severe trust issues, and this affects their relationships, as I mentioned earlier, and they are unable to also come out of their mistakes or their failures very easily. Toxic fear also affects mental health. It eventually leads to loneliness, depression, social anxiety, and it also prevents the children and adults from fully expressing themselves. So these are the children who will grow up not being able to share their ideas, not being able to share their thoughts, and they might even fear confrontation, which will lead them to further suppress their ideas, thoughts, and emotions. Hence, keeping all these points in mind, we know that toxic fear is definitely not good. So then what is healthy fear, and what are the different ways we can instill healthy fear in our children? Healthy fear is that fear which children need to learn and know in order to survive in the society and in order to develop their skills and in order to be responsible citizens. One of the most important healthy fear that children need to have is the common fear of danger. Not touching hot objects, or not jumping into deep waters, or crossing the road carefully by looking on both sides, or not kneeling over high parapets or high rise buildings, or anything that might put their life in danger, like not talking to strangers. So healthy fear is that fear which obviously protects your child from danger, and this kind of healthy fear is definitely needed. Another kind of healthy fear that children must have is also the fear of consequences. So in a healthy way, we have to instill the fear in our children that whatever they do wrong will have consequences. Like, you should not spit on the road, or you should not throw garbage on the road because it makes the road dirty. Or if you misbehave with your friend might not talk to you. Or if you sit up till late night, then you will miss your bus and you might miss your school, which will not help you in your studies. Or if you don't prepare for your exams, you might not clear this grade. So these are the different types of healthy fears related to consequences, which lets the child understand that if I do something, there will be consequences. And this can be done in a very healthy way, because fear of consequences is also a healthy fear. Another healthy fear is also fear of failure, but again, depending on how it is handled by the parents. So a child needs to have a healthy fear of not being able to succeed in everything that he or she does. But healthy fear is where the child is made to understand what happened in that failure and what can the child learn from it. Social fear is also healthy fear, where the child is taught that my behavior impacts the other person, and hence what I do or do not do is going to come with consequences. So if I misbehave with my friend, or if I tell lies, or if I betray my friend, then my friend is going to be hurt, or it is going to affect our friendship. So these are the different types of healthy fears that the children need to grow up with in order to survive in the society and in order to be better citizens. But like I said, how we instill healthy fear is most important. The benefits of healthy fear is, of course, it protects your child from harm, it promotes responsible behavior, and it also prepares your child for challenges. So if your child has healthy fear, which means a child has an awareness of what could go wrong, what are the consequences, etc., then the child is better prepared to face challenging situations. And hence, healthy fear is important. In order to develop healthy fears, parents need to understand that when your child is showing some sort of a fear about something, you should acknowledge the fear that yes, we understand that you are afraid, but how can we look at it differently, or let me support you through this so that you are not afraid. For example, if the child is afraid of going in the dark, then it is important to validate the fear that yes, I know you are afraid of the dark, but I am going to be with you while you navigate through that darkness. So acknowledging the child's fear and yet giving the child coping skills and showing the child support and building the child's confidence in order to overcome that fear is very, very important. So I hope that this video helps you people and answers your question as to should children have fear or not. Yes, children should have healthy fear, but it is a toxic fear that we should stay away from, because toxic fear can make them dysfunctional and decapacitated for life, mentally as well as physically. Remember, toxic fear also induces a lot of fears and phobias amongst children, which sometimes stay with them long after they are adults. We've had many clients who have come in our clinical practice where they have fear of darkness, fear of ghosts, fear of driving a car, or fear of heights and water. And most of these fears have come from their childhood, where they have been threatened, or these fears have been used by parents in order to discipline the children or keep them safe. So toxic fears have to be avoided and healthy fears have to be instilled. Do follow, subscribe and like, and if you have liked this video, please make sure that you comment on what is the healthy fear that you have grown up with and what is the toxic fear that you have grown up with.